Hey, welcome back. So let's continue here and get data from the actual database and then put it here. So what I want us to do is I want 3 graphs here. So I want a daily graph, one graph that will show what happened today, what was sold, and hour by hour, that is, because there's 24 hours in a day. So it's going to be 24 points on the x-axis. And then we're going to have another one for the month, and then we'll have one for the year. Now, I'm doing those 3 just to give you an idea of what you can do in order to just to show you how versatile you can go. You can make one for yourself that goes per week, etc., etc. So I just want us to deal with those 3 because those are the most useful. Okay, so let's begin by collecting data from the database. So when this loads, we can collect data. If s is equal to graph, then we can check that out and then use that to collect the data. So what I'm going to do here is this. So let's come to our, let's go to, what do we do here? Let's go to our view, because it's always a challenge to figure out where you want to put your stuff. Now, it's always good to put all the code that does the logic inside controllers. But sometimes you may want to put it in the view. But I think we are still better off doing it not in the view, but in the controller. So we're going to leave this view up. I'll just edit it here so it doesn't close when I click another thing here. So what I'll do is let's try the admin here and go to cells. Okay, and this is where we have our where do we get, this is the section here. So if section is equal to graph, then let's read some stuff from the database, because I don't want us to be reading stuff from the database when we don't need to. Okay, so where is this? I'm looking for the view require path. Okay, so all that is good. What I need to do is right at the end here, let's do what we want to do. Okay, so I'm going to say if section is equal to graph, like so, then let's read graph data. Okay, let's do that. Now, in order to read, we're going to use, let's use the DB. DB is equal to new database. So we're just going to use the database class. And we know that in the database class, there's only one function there we want to use, and that's query. So let's create a query and then use it. So first of all, I want us to query well, actually, we already have a query for today, right? Which is, where is that? This one. Query total. Where is that? Select two from products. I'm trying to find the one that we used for today. I think it's this one, but this one is just gets us the total. Anyway, let's create a new query. No harm in doing that. So query today's records. Then we're going to query this month's records, and then we're going to query this year's records. Okay, so great. So how do we query today? Well, in order to query today, we have to generate today's date. So query is equal to, let's say, select all from. Actually, for this, we can save some data, because if we don't need to get specific data, then we don't need it. Because if we get all the columns, we're going to get all this information that really isn't necessary. What we really want are the totals, right? We just want a total hour by hour and stuff. So what I want to do is just read the total column, right? So instead of select all, let's be minimalists and say select total from cells where, of course, we need the where clause, where date is equal to, and I think we can cast this as a date. I'm not sure if this is gonna work, but you know, when you are not sure about a query, what you can do is go to the PHP My Admin and then go to the SQL here, and then you can try things out. You can say select all from cells where, and then let's say date is equal to. Now I'm going to open a new tab so I can look at the records while I type this, so I don't have to go back here. Now I'm looking for a date like this one. So I'm just going to copy this text over here, copy, and I will come back over here and say where date is equal to that. So will that work? Okay, so we don't get any records, right? So let's come back to the edit and let's cast this as a date. Let me just put date and then put that in brackets so that it knows we're talking about a date. It's not just a normal string. This is a date. So let's try that. And this time we do get records. So that's how you do it. Okay. So with that in mind, this is going to work. So date. You may want to capitalize these because they're case insensitive, just so you can know that this is a keyword. Also, you can capitalize select and from, etc., etc. Usually people do that to differentiate these things. And yeah, so select from where, even this one is a keyword, but it's not necessary, just for readability's sake. Okay, so where date is equal to, and so I want to construct today's date. Now, to construct today's date is simple. We're going to say date is equal to date. So when you use the date function, it returns today's date, but you have to tell it what format it should use. So in this case, I want it to have a year, and then dash, and then a month, and then a day. So because I haven't provided an actual date here, because you can put two arguments here, it's going to get today's date. So it's as simple as that. So I'm just going to write today here so that we know what this date is, and this is today, where date is equal to today. So we're getting all the records, so there's no limit here. We don't need to order them in a specific way, it doesn't matter. This is just going to work fine. So I'll say today records, okay, is equal to db, and then let's use that query function and then write query like so, like that. Now since we are putting our variables directly in there, we don't need to put any array there because we don't have we are not using prepared statements. Okay, so today's records will have what we want in there. Very good. Let me copy this and let's do exactly the same thing for this month, right? So in this case, let's try and see if this month will work here. So I'm going to edit that, and then I'm just going to say where date is equal to, and I'll remove the day from there, and let's go. Okay, so doesn't seem to work at all. because maybe this is incomplete. So this doesn't work. What we need to do is now I just want to say that it's possible to do a text search instead, because if you look at the date here, it's kind of like a string, right? It is a string, and if you know that the year is this way, and then the month is here, and then the day is like that, you can just use the like keyword as if you're searching for text, and you can use wildcards. You can say where date like instead of using the equal sign, and then you put a wildcard at the end here to say you want it to at least be this at the beginning, but you don't care what text comes after that. So if I hit go, I should get some results. But of course, this only works if the date is configured like this and you know that. But there are certain times in different regions where the date the year may be this way, the month is this side, and so on. So if you're not sure of the date format, this may not work. So it might not be a good idea to use that. So let's cast this as a date instead. So we're just going to say where date. So let's try, we know it's 2022-02 that we are looking for. So what we'll say is where month date, because that's a column in that date, right, is equal to. So we are saying the month in this date, where just the month in this column should be equal to 2, right? And we must not forget the year, because otherwise we'll get records from a different year in this same month as well. So we'll say and year of that same column is equal to 2022, like so. All right, so let's try that. Let me zoom out a little bit and let's hit go. And we get a similar result. So let's copy what we have here. I will copy that and let's come back here and let's put that inside the query. So let's paste. Okay, so now what we need for this is two things. We need the month. So I'm going to say month. Now, just to be specific, I'll say this month, and here, this year. This year, like that, okay? I don't like the backticks for some reason, so I'll just remove them. And we don't need or, we just need the total column. Now let's create those two variables. Of course, we need this month and this year as well. This year. Okay, so to get this year, no problem. Let's just do that. That's the year. Let's get this month. Let's remove the day and the year, and we have that. Simple and straightforward. So this month records is equal to that. Alrighty then. Let's do exactly the same thing for the year. Okay. So this will come in handy selecting just total, because one year may have thousands of records. So it may be a good idea to just get one column instead of putting that star like that, because you may run out of RAM. Or your server may run out of RAM while trying to load all those records. So this month, and let's remove the month. We don't need it. But we already have this year here, so we may not need to declare it again. So where we'll just remove this year date is equal to this year. Let me remove that semicolon there, even though it wouldn't cause a problem. All right, so at least we have these records now. So we have this month records. So this is supposed to be this year records, this month records, and today records. Very cool. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go to the view section and see if we actually have that that data here. So I will remove the display for the graph. Let's remove all of that. So all I want is now to show today underscore records, right? And then say this month records, and then this year records. So let's see which ones of those will actually have some data. So if I refresh now, this is what we get. So one array here with this data. So one row with only one column, and there's a value. So quite the list here. So this is for today, and this is for this month, right? And this is for this year. So this year will always be longer, and there it is. Very cool. The only thing now is we need to parse this information, because we can't give our graph this array, because this is not what it's used to, right? It's used to seeing the key and a value, but instead we have a key of 0 and then an array in there. So this array won't work if we supply it to our graph. We need to parse it in such a way that it makes sense. Okay, so let's do that in the next video.